Hi, happy Tuesday, friends. Happy Tuesday, besties and bosses. This is like the silliest exciting news. If you've been live with me the last few months, you know the desk chair I had was making all these crazy, like crickety noises. And in fact, I think it was Marie on one of our lives thought that my fiance popped a bottle of champagne in the other room, but it was my chair making noise. And I had ordered another desk chair and it was taking, especially ordered and stuff, it was taking forever to make, and it arrived. So I have a chair that I can swivel around in and not creak while I'm chatting with you. So I'm very, very excited about this. These are the important things in life. It also has like really good back support, and I'm on calls all day long. So it's very exciting over here. These are the small things to celebrate. Not figured out the Zoom to Facebook thing yet. We do have to figure that out. So if anyone has any fun tips they want to share with us there, because we've been doing this on my phone the last few weeks because technology on Facebook has been funky. Anyway, I want to dive into today's conversation. If you're live now, say hello. Let me know how you're doing. And if you're watching on the replay, say hi as well. I want to talk about the number one thing to stop focusing on for bigger results in your business. So I won't tease this out too much, but I think it's just helpful as a preface, and I should pull up my notes here, but you know, if you've been hanging out with me and if you've been watching my lives, I'm really obsessed with the brain. I'm obsessed with how our brain works, and so much of what I support my clients with so that they can build, grow, and scale profitable businesses on their terms is the mindset component, as well as the clarity and strategy and action side of things. And I talk about managing your mind quite a bit, and the mindset, just how that supports your business, how you can use your mind to leverage your business, and just overall, I think our brain is a really fascinating organ and tool we can leverage in our business. And something I find so interesting and that I find to be true for all of us, this is not a me thing or a you thing, or does some people think this is true across the board, is that our brains are big freaking liars. I think I was talking about this on the podcast on one of the last episodes, but your brain is such a liar. Hey, Stephanie, nice to have you on. Nice to see you. I just got started, so you didn't miss anything. I just realized I should also double check to make sure, because Facebook has been so wackadoo recently, make sure that we are all set up over here properly. How you doing, Stephanie? Tell me all the things. Tell me how life is going, how summer is going. And I am curious, actually, before we dive in, I was just talking about what a liar your brain can be and how it's really interesting, because I do talk about so much about mindset. And I think a lot of the work that I'm supporting clients with is helping them listen to their thoughts. Yes, manage their thoughts. Yes, manage their mindset. Yes, unpack stories and rework their mindset to support their business. But a lot of times we're also looking at what is true from your brain, what is not true from your brain, what do you listen to, what do you not listen to. And I find it to be really interesting work, and some of the most important work. It's what I'm doing with my coach as well, because our brains lie to us all day long. They are full of lies. And not because your brain is mean or because it doesn't want you to do well. It's really such a form of survival and self-protection. I've probably said this in so many different ways, but your brain is not designed for success. Our brains have evolved. When we think back to hunter-gatherer days, our brains have evolved to keep us alive, to keep us from being eaten by a tiger and a bear, and to be accepted into society and to be accepted into a community, because that's what allowed us to evolve to present day. So much of what our brain tells us and the things the brain picks up and then morphs into new stories are really forms to keep you safe. However, so often these are essentially lies that don't serve you in your business. Just seeing, Marie says, happy Tuesday. Stephanie says, I so agree. I'm so glad that you agree and you are with me on this. And so I think, again, a lot of the work for us as business owners, and if you are a coach as well, I know a lot of you aren't coaches, but for those of you who are coaches, I think it's just noticing when you're supporting a client. Yes, we're helping clients to shift limiting beliefs or to work through fears. But I think a lot of times our work is also to help them separate out what is the useful thought in the brain, what is a bunch of BS, what are the lies in the brain, so that we can support our clients to focus on what actually serves them in business. Stephanie says it's still over 2K years old, a fossil. You're talking about the evolution of our brain. Yes, it is. I think that's what you mean in terms of what we were talking about a second ago. Such a fossil. And so much of, little side note, and then we will actually I promise I will actually share what I want to invite you to stop focusing on, because this is, I bet it's not what you think. For those of you who are live, tell me what you think I'm going to tell you to stop focusing on. It'd be really interesting to hear guesses, if you want to guess. But I think something that's really, helicopters outside the window, always New York background noises. Something really interesting to understand about the brain in terms of how your brain has evolved over the thousands of years, over hundreds of years, over, how much our brain has evolved. When before present day brain, we had the reptilian brain, is what a lot of people refer to it as, and that is where your fight or flight response is, fight, flight, freeze response, your fear response. That's where a lot of your survival mechanisms hang out in the brain. That is the oldest part of your brain. It wasn't until we evolved that we added on, that our brain expanded, that we became, who we are as humans today, that we added on the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex part of the brain, that's where our decision making comes from. That's where our creative problem solving comes from. That's where your future thinking comes from. And so I think it's just even helpful to know that this isn't like a you thing. You're not doing something wrong. This isn't, if you're like, why does my brain do this? I think it's just understanding literally the part of your brain that helps you make decisions, that helps you be a CEO. It's literally called or referred to as the executive functioning part of your brain, the part of your brain that helps you look forward, to plan, to essentially be a successful business owner and CEO. That part of your brain didn't even come to be, did not even evolve, did not even get created, for lack of a better way to describe it, until very recently in terms of when we're looking at evolution. So of course, that reptilian part of your brain is going to want to come in and overdrive more often than not. Jen says, stop focusing on education and getting more knowledge. Ooh, that is a good one. That's not what I'm going to share, but I love that guess. And the guesses will be fun because I'm sure every guess y'all have, I will agree with. Anyway, so that's a little brain geek out 101, not to sidetrack us so much, but the reason I wanted to open today's, and hi Jen, by the way, nice to see you. I can see you, nice to see your picture here. The reason I wanted to preface with that is what I'm gonna tell you to stop focusing on, I think for a lot of people can seem counterintuitive, as so many things are, but the reason so often things in business feel counterintuitive, again, is just understanding that our brain wants to tell us all day long, hey, this is important, this is an emergency, this is a thing you should pay attention to. And we have to understand so much of that is just the brain doing its brain thing, not truth, not something we actually want to pay attention to. And the more we can understand that, the more we can remove the charge from what we think is important, so we can actually focus on what matters in business. Any other guesses? I will say what Jen says here about stop focusing on education and getting more knowledge. I'm an education whore. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't use that word of education. I love education. I love learning. And I absolutely think in business, we can get so wrapped up in learning more, needing to learn more, thinking we're missing information, thinking it's all about just getting more education. And that stalls so many business owners out. And I think what Jen said about the knowledge piece there is really brilliant and really spot on. So I absolutely co-sign that. So happy face back to you. I absolutely co-sign that. And knowledge and practical knowledge and putting things into practice is going to always serve you more in business. I think that's where we get the biggest education. I've learned more by doing in my business than from any, not to discount courses, but from any course I've ever taken. No, though what I was gonna say, and what I will invite everyone here to stop focusing on, and probably the number one thing I'm challenging my clients on a regular basis, every week I'm probably challenging a client on this, is when they come to me with a problem in their business and something that's not working, and essentially something that's not working with people who aren't, and I'll give you some examples so that this makes more sense, but people who aren't interested in their work and wanting to fix, thinking that's a problem in their business and wanting to focus attention and energy on fixing that, instead of focusing on the people who are interested in their work, the people who are in front of them. So let me give some examples because I think that can sound a little vague, but what I really want to invite you to stop focusing on is to stop focusing on the people who don't like you, the people who don't want to buy from you, the people who don't agree with you, the people who are unsubscribing from your email list, the people who aren't clicking, the people who aren't following you. There is such a human want. You know, it's everything. That's why I wanted to start with the brain aspect here. There's such a human desire to fit in, and our brain is literally designed to scan for problems and to scan for threats. And so it does feed you lies all day long, where if you notice someone's not paying attention, someone's not liking this, someone's saying no, someone's not signing up, your brain is just like, I need to find a problem, I need to find a threat. That could be a threat, that's an emergency. Pay attention to this so you can survive. And what I really want to invite you to start thinking about is the more you focus on the people who aren't interested, the more you sabotage your business. And what helps you to build, grow, and scale a profitable business is to listen and notice when that's happening, and notice that those are lies from your brain. Your brain is just trying to keep you safe. What is going to help you make more money in your business is to focus on the people in front of you who do want what you have to offer. And I will give some more tangible examples. Let's see. Jen has a smiley face. Marie says, guess, go be me. That is a really great guess. I absolutely also co-sign your guess, and anyone watching the replay too have to share the guesses. Jen says same. And I think she says, oh, I think that's in terms of nice to see you. So let me know if this is resonating, and y'all do not have to out yourself, but I always think it's so helpful when we're sharing and having a conversation around this. So let me know, have you ever, if you want to, now we're in the replay, have you ever gotten really wrapped around your, let's say your email list, and paying attention to, for example, the people who are unsubscribing? And have you gotten wrapped around a story where you think, I need to figure out why people are unsubscribing so I can stop people from unsubscribing? This is the thing I need to focus on. Or maybe you've had a launch and you have a course program launch and the brain wants to go, or you've noticed, okay, here are some people signing up, but these people aren't signing up over here. These people haven't signed up for my masterclass or training. I need to figure out how to get the people who aren't signing up interested. Maybe you have another example like this. I'm going to use a dating example because I think sometimes when we can see this in relationships outside of business, it's a lot easier to notice where it's happening in business, especially since I know everyone listening is going to have such different businesses. But this is a little bit like if you've ever dated and someone's either broken up with you or not wanted to go on a second date, or you've only had a few dates with them. It's sort of like when you, I'm not saying anyone here in particular, but I'm not saying I've ever done this, but I'm sure you know someone like this, where the want is to get so obsessed around that person who doesn't want another date, and to think, let me figure out what's wrong with me. Let me figure out what I need to fix. Let me figure out how I can change this so this person will like me. And all of the attention and energy gets focused on this person who isn't interested in dating more. And all of the energy gets focused on fixing a quality in yourself, or changing something, or figuring out how you can morph, contort, be what you need to be so this person who said no to date 3, for example, how they might be interested in date 3. Let me know if that example, if you've ever known anyone who might have been in that situation. If we take that example, that happens in business all the time, but it's so sneaky because your brain is full of lies and it wants to tell you, hey, here's this person who wasn't interested. Here's this person who unsubscribed. This is a problem. And now your job is to go figure out why they're not interested and figure out what you can fix and change and how you can morph and contort so that they will be interested, or people like them will be interested. And that's going to be the key to your success. That's how you're going to scale. That's the thing you're missing. Has anyone's brain ever told that story? Jen says, I didn't even realize that I do this subtly. I can never say that word. Subtly. I can read it and I can't say it subtly though. I think a lot of us do this subtly, and I think it's because, again, the brain is so wired. It's that survival mechanism. It's that reptilian part of the brain. It's so wired for survival. It's so wired for scan the horizon, look for a threat. It's so wired for look for a problem. It gets so excited. If we could imagine the brain as a cartoon, it would be like jumping up and down as a cartoon when it finds a threat or a problem, because it thinks it's done its job and it's keeping you safe. And so I think it is really subtle because it's just how we're wired. We do this everywhere in our life. But what most of us are focused on is focusing on what's wrong, what's not working, and how can we fix that. And again, what I really want to invite everyone to start thinking about is that's not how you build, grow, and scale a profitable business. Especially if we start thinking about scaling. Scaling is all about leveraging your time to make more money, essentially working what's already working. Maybe you're going to add in one other thing. And it's really hard to scale something by trying to fix things that really don't need fixing. The way you scale is by getting really smart with your time and leveraging it, and getting putting on your CEO hat to work to deepen what's already working. the way we get strategy to work, if we look at building a business, the way you get strategy to work in your business isn't by looking for all the things that are broken, or all the things that, all the people who aren't interested, all the people who don't agree. It's sort of like if anyone during the last political, well, we've got campaigns going on now, but we think about the last election, if anyone ever if you spent all your time just trying to argue with people who had a different opinion with you, it's really hard to get traction. Whereas if you find the people who are more aligned with your opinion, it's so much easier to get traction and maybe to encourage them to go vote instead of trying to convince someone to vote differently. It's kind of what, I don't know if that example makes sense, but that's kind of what we're talking about here in business. The way to building your business is finding the things that are working, finding the people who are already in front of you, finding the people who already want to buy, finding like what is already gelling, and then deepening into that and working that more and more. The easiest way to stay stuck and spin your wheels is to look for the things that are broken and spend all of your time trying to fix those things. It's what is the quote? What you focus on expands. I think from a mindset for those of my friends who are into manifesting, and I mean, whether you're into the woo spiritual side of manifesting or the practical, this is how your brain works, what you focus on expands. What you focus on does expand from a manifesting energetic standpoint, but also just in terms of what you focus on. That's what you tell your brain to pay attention to. We're having like brain geek out live today. I'm sure many of you have heard about the reticular activating system, which is the part of your brain that filters in. It's the closest to your subconscious and conscious brain, and it really tells your brain what to pay attention to. This is why what you focus on expands. Whatever you tell your brain to pay attention to, it's going to notice when it's scanning the horizon, looking for things. This is also what supports manifesting. Your brain absolutely supports manifesting if you believe in energy in the universe. What happens when you're looking at and focusing on the people who aren't interested, when you're focused on the unsubscribes, when you're focused on the people who didn't sign up, when you're focused on the person who said no instead of the person who said yes, you're telling your brain, pay attention to more of this, expand more of this. I want, and you're basically filling more lies into your brain, I want more of this, instead of what is so powerful and what expands your results is focusing on what's already working. How do I tell my brain I want more of this? How do I get more of this working? Let me know if this is resonating, y'all, or if you have any questions, throw all the questions at me, because I want to make sure this is clicking, because I just had 2 conversations today about this in some way, shape, or form, because so often clients are coming to a call with a problem in their business. And when we unpack it, it's a problem that if they go and fix it, would actually take them further away from moving forward in their business, would actually do more sabotage, more harm than good, would actually take their focus and put it on exactly the wrong thing they need to focus on. I think it's such a helpful thing to start paying attention to in your business. And again, not to make yourself wrong. This is just a human thing, but just to know this is so normal and it's so common, especially if you're in a growth phase, or if you're sitting in that gap. I talk about the gap so often, that time in business from when you started showing up consistently with strategy before the results show up, and that time gap where you're waiting for the manifesting to come through, you're waiting for those results to come through the door, and you're waiting to see the results on the back end of the action you've been showing up to take. I think it's particularly common then for the brain to want to freak out. It's uncomfortable. That is a challenging time in business, and to want to start to fix and pay attention to the people who aren't saying yes, the people who aren't interested, and to try to focus there instead of how can you keep your blinders on and focus on the people in front of you who are interested, who do want what you have to offer. I'm going to share 2 really practical ways you can do this, but please throw the questions at me. Or if you have any specifics, if you want a specific in any way. So something I was chatting about a client with this morning around this, and just I think a way that can be helpful to think about this, and we've probably talked about this in different ways before, but is playing with the 80-20 principle. I think that's just a principle that can help this concept here in terms of focus on the people in front of you, focus on the people who want what you have to offer, instead of trying to convert the people who don't. And if we think about, I don't know if anyone here has heard of the 80-20 principle, the Pareto principle. It essentially says that 80% of your results come from 20% of your actions or output. And a lot of times I'm looking at clients with this, so especially as we're getting into scaling, so we can really see how we can leverage their time for more results without working more, because scaling is not about how do we just add more work onto your plate, it's how do we add more money without more work onto your plate. And a lot of times we're looking at what is that 20%? What is that lever that when we press this lever, that's where most of the results come from. When you focus on the people who are in front of you, who are raising their hand, who are on your subscribe list, who are saying I'm interested, who are saying yes, when you focus on that 20% and you go deeper in that arena, whether it's press the lever on that strategy or press the lever on how do I go deeper with this person, that's when you can exponentially increase your results, because you're pressing the lever on that 20% that's going to bring that 80%. And I think what's really fascinating is then if you take your focus and shift your focus to that 20% that's already working, that's already in front of you, that already likes what you have to offer, that already is on board, it's sort of like, I don't know the maths on this, but if 20% of your action gives you 80% of your results and you double down your focus there, and we know what you focus on expands, this is like a really fun math equation where you're compounding, you're exponentially increasing the focus on that one lever to increase results. And this is where we see quantum leaps happen in business all the time. What doesn't create those quantum leaps is taking your foot off that 20%, taking your foot off that 20% and scattering it on the 80% of actions, effort, people that yield 20% or less of your results. And I think most of you, all of us, if we take a look, there's an opportunity to look at, oh, isn't that interesting? I so badly have this desire to focus on the shit that's not working as well, to focus on the people who aren't interested. It's the brain, right? We want to fit in. We want to be liked. We don't want to be rejected. We don't want FOMO. It's the tribe mentality. It's the fear of being rejected. It's the brain thinking, let me find the problem. Let me find what's missing and fix it. And we almost overlook. I think I was talking with a different client, really this has been the conversation in the past 2 weeks, which is funny because I picked these topics in advance. I was talking about this with another client where it's just so easy to miss what's working and what's right in front of you. And I think, again, this is just such an opportunity because what you focus on does expand. And most of us are missing the gold that's already like right under our nose because we're looking to fix something or adjust something else. We're looking to find that one person who didn't want to go on another date with us and spend all our energy obsessing over that person instead of looking at the person right in front of us who's like, I really like you. You're great just the way you are. Could we go on another date? Hey love, how are you? Nice to see. Will you tell me how to pronounce your name? Because I think you've told me before and I want to make sure I'm pronouncing your name correctly because that is a beautiful name. You'll have to let me know if this is resonating with you and if you have any questions. The other thing I will, I'll share an example here. I think this is helpful to hear too. So I think most business owners, even if you are a large business that is working on volume and that needs, more, like I'm a business that works on, I do high ticket sales. So, and I work one-on-one. So I have a smaller roster. So I don't need a ton of people going through my business. But even if I had a business where, let's say I was doing a group program or I had a course where we needed volume, we needed more people. Even if I had a program like that, so for those of you who do, if you look at the number of people you need through your program in relation to the number of people in your audience, in relation to the number of people who are even in that marketplace for you, not even in the world. Forget all the people in the world, because that's almost too many people to think about, but just even in the people who would be in that marketplace for your offer. I think it's helpful to see if you could focus on all the people who weren't interested and all the people who are the unsubscribes and all the people who weren't the yes. You probably, even if you could serve a massive amount of people, a large quantity, you wouldn't be able to serve all the people in the marketplace for your offer. I guarantee you, whatever your offer is, that wouldn't be possible. And if you try to, if suddenly you focus on all those people who weren't interested, and I'm using unsubscribes a lot because I think it's just such an easy way to wrap your brain around this concept, but all the people who weren't the yes. If you tried to serve all of those people and they suddenly came through the door, it would honestly probably break your business. I don't know if anyone watches Shark Tank, but sometimes companies go, or it's the Oprah effect, right? Certain companies will get featured by Oprah or go into Shark Tank. And if they're not really ready for the influx of business, they will grow and scale too quickly and it'll actually break their business. There's so many cases of this where people who weren't prepared for that, and because it overloads their business, it overloads their team, it wrecks their customer service, they're not able to keep up with the demand, it actually breaks their business, which is a little bit of a side tangent, but I think it's a helpful way to help your brain when it wants to lie to you, to tell you should go focus on those people who aren't interested, and to try to expand your reach that way, and to focus outward instead of inward. And when I mean outward instead of inward in this case, I mean outward to the people outside of your audience who are already raising your hand, instead of inward to the people who are already in front of you. It's just really helpful to see that actually would do more harm than good, even if you could change all of those people's minds and get everyone on board and get everyone to like you and be a big yes. The number one reason businesses fail, and I don't think I'm making this set up, I think this is, if you go get an MBA, this is what they're going to teach you. One of the most common reasons big businesses fail is they scale too quickly. So I think it's just really helpful to remember things like that. And then also to look at what do you actually need to have success and sustainability and scalability in your business. And to see that percentage of the people in front of you who are already saying yes, who are already on your subscribe list, who already are interested, it's probably a very small percentage of people. And I think that can help shift the focus when you can look at that really practically, just look at those numbers from a very practical, neutral place. Because again, the brain is going to want to tell you, no, but more is better. And we already have these people in front of us, so we should go focus on the people who aren't interested. And I want to keep reminding you, nope, get the blinders back on to serve what's already in front of you. What's the, is it the Rumi quote? Serve who is already in front of you. Maybe it's Michael Singer. I don't remember who said that. But serve what's already in front of you. Serve the people already in front of you. And focus on the people who want what you have to offer. I know that sounds in many ways so simple. And I also know it sounds counterintuitive, because I think a lot of what can be taught in business is go find all the things to fix. Go find the holes in your funnel. And I want to offer, don't go find the holes in your funnel. Go find what's working in your funnel and double down on that. Does this make sense? Y'all are quiet. Let me know if that is resonating. I'm going to give you one more kind of way, like you can just think about this. So I think it's helpful to see it in a couple different ways. But we talk about this a lot when it comes to content and marketing. And I think what's so common with things like content and when we're looking at marketing strategy, when we're looking at messaging, is to try to think, how can I appeal to everyone? How can I get more people to like this? How can, the people in front of me are saying yes, but like, so-and-so said they didn't agree with this. So-and-so said they didn't like my message. That person in that other Facebook group disagreed with me. And it's really fascinating. If I have there's 11,000 people in this group. So I can have 11,000 people in here. Obviously not everyone's seeing my content, but let's say a couple hundred people see a post. I can have a couple hundred people see a post and either like it or be neutral with it. But I could have, and this is just what happens so often, one person cannot like a post, or not, you can post it in another group and you can have 1,000 people see your post, and one person can leave you a comment where they disagree. And what is the human tendency? The human tendency is to want to latch on to that negative comment and to think, oh my gosh, they might be right. I either need to get into fight mode, right? It's the fight, flight, freeze response of the reptilian brain. I either need to fight this person, or I think there's something wrong with me as a business owner. I think there's something wrong with my message. I better figure out how I can water this down or placate the person in front of me and make this so that that person will get this or agree with me or like this. Anyone ever been there? I'm sure many of you have. There's no shame in that. I think it's a very, very normal thing. And I think what's just so important, this is just an example of how much mental energy can get lost on focusing on the one person who doesn't agree, focusing on the one person who doesn't like what you have, focusing on the few people who unsubscribe, how much bandwidth can get put into that, how much that can derail, if that's churning on the back of your brain for a whole day, how does that affect how you show up for clients, how you show up for sales calls, how you show up to create new content? But then how often the tendency is to then want to go and fix your content or your marketing, your messaging, to make it a little more palatable, to not have that response from someone, to avoid getting a nasty comment or to avoid pissing someone off. I think this can happen for those of you who are coaches, and I know I have a lot of people who aren't coaches, but I think this can happen with, I was talking about this with some clients of mine who do design work. I think this can happen anytime you're doing client work that is subjective. You could even have a client who's not going to be thrilled with the work you do. And of course we want to serve our clients really well, but I think it's just really fascinating to notice, like if we kind of go back to that 80-20 principle, like, is it the majority of people that are not enjoying what you have? That's actually something to pay attention to. Or is it, there's a small percentage of, there's one person who doesn't agree with your comment, one person who doesn't like your design, one person who's not interested, is that getting most of your mental bandwidth? And if so, if you focus that, going back to the focus piece, what does focusing on that one person who doesn't agree, how does that impact the rest of your work? How does that impact your messaging? How does that impact your content? And what would happen instead if you realize that's literally not the place to focus? The place to focus on is all of the people in front of you who do like what you have to offer, and doubling down on that. And this is kind of a side tangent, but I love me some side tangents. When I think particularly about content and messaging and marketing, something I really believe to be true, and I don't love the way this is phrased, but y'all understand what I mean. I'm sure you've heard this before, this concept that it partly really good messaging, really good marketing, really good content repels and attracts. And I wish there was a different word for repel, because I don't think of it so much as repel and attract, but I think of it more as, we can think about repel and attract almost like the way magnets will polarize or magnetize someone towards you. I think what we're talking about here is it's so really good content, really good marketing, really good strategy is meant to repel and attract, polarize and magnetize, so that you can draw in the people who are an easy yes, right? That's how you build ease into your business. The people who already agree with and fit in with what you have to offer. And it's meant to naturally hold up a boundary for the people you're not for. That's great marketing. That's really great strategy. And that's also how you build ease into your business. And that's how you know you have an opinion worth sharing. I tell my clients that all the time. If they do, this is not to create a story that you're going to have hate comments on your content, but if you do have a comment like that, I tell my clients that's worth celebrating, because that means you shared something that was an opinion that was worthy, like enough of an opinion for someone to disagree. It's really hard for someone to leave a comment like that if you don't have a big enough opinion, if you're not putting a flag in the ground around what you believe for them to disagree around. And it also just means they're just not your person, kind of going back to the dating analogy. So I think it's just helpful to see how this plays out really practically in your strategy, and noticing the more you can keep shifting your focus, keep knowing, hey, my brain's gonna feed me lies, my brain's gonna wanna pay attention to these other things. My job as a business owner, as a CEO, is to keep shifting my focus back to, but what's already working? Who are the people in front of me? Who are the people who like what I have to say? What's the message I can deepen into? Instead of where are the outliers that don't agree with this, who are unsubscribing, who aren't signing up, who aren't buying, who are asking for a refund. Those are literally not the places to put your focus. And then I see comments, and I want to see what your questions or comments are. The other thing I think can just be helpful here as a reminder too, and I think this is where practical, tactical things like data and numbers can be so beneficial for mindset, is knowing just when you're in business, and if you're in business long enough, and if you're serving enough people, there are just certain numbers that are always going to play out. There's always going to be and this is sort of like, no matter how much of a unicorn business owner you are, at a certain point, you're probably going to have someone ask for a refund, or you're going to have someone default on a payment. You're only going to, and this isn't to create a story, it's just kind of how the stats and numbers work out. This is like the most quadrillionaire business owners ever. There's still a percentage of people who are going to unsubscribe from your email list. There's still a percentage of people who are not going to buy. There's still a pretty standard percentage of people who will convert and become clients. And then as we deepen relationships with people, we can change those conversion rates, but just kind of seeing that statistically, looking at data, that's pretty normal. And I think that can be helpful so that you can see that's just normal. That's not a problem I need to fix in my business. That's not something to focus energy on. If you have a certain number of unsubscribe, and you can probably track if you pay attention to your numbers. I think it's really helpful because you can also just start to see what's normal in your business, and you really don't need to pay attention to those things or fix anything because there's nothing to fix unless those numbers become, really big swings in either direction. Let me see. Stephanie says, that's good. Double down on what's working. I have an example for you, Stephanie, that I think will be helpful. And then Marie says, what is interesting, when I go to TripAdvisor, I want to see those 1 or 2 negative comments. It's human nature. It's absolutely human nature. Oh gosh, the negative comment thing I think is really interesting too. I have a theory with, I don't love reading reviews on things like Google or TripAdvisor because unless it's like all negative reviews, but I feel reviews are so skewed, and I always think this is Side Tangent Live with Kim today, but it's applicable to what Marie said. Something I really think about is what is the mindset of the person who wants to leave a negative review? And when I think about a negative review with something like this, and I know this is from the podcast, I know most of us don't leave reviews when we're happy with something. We don't even think about it. If we've had great service, if we had a great trip, if we went on a great airline flight, if we had a great hotel, if we love a podcast, if we love a book, most of us, if we've had great service at a restaurant, most of us don't go out of our way after a great experience to go leave a positive review. For any of you who do ask for reviews for something, it's like you really have to incentivize people to leave a review because it's something someone has to go out of their way, take time, find the app, figure out what to say. Most people just aren't doing that, right? They had a great experience, they're on to the next thing. But if we've had a shitty experience, if we're grumpy, if we're, pissed at our kids, if our kid was crying in the background, if we got a hair on our food, it's when we're frustrated with something that we will go out of our way because it's a way, that's human nature as well, right? It's a way for us to feel like we've done something and we're problem solving, and, there's probably a lot of psychology in that. But I think that's helpful to know. So oftentimes when you're looking at reviews, it is a little skewed because people are more likely to leave a negative review than a positive review, even if there's more positive reviews out there. It's total side tangent, but I always find that interesting. I'm always interested. I'm like, what was the negative review about? Does this shit actually matter to me, or is this just a grumpy person? Anyway, I think it's in line though, Marie, with what Marie's saying here. It's just human nature to want to pay attention to that and to want to notice those things. And Marie's saying this is how she would notice this with reviews online. I think helpful for everyone to understand the brain is wired to notice -3 to 1. So if we're not consciously doing the work to tip the scale in terms of noticing positive events, and we're not doing our mindset work, and we're not actively rewiring our brain, and we're not consciously paying attention, your brain at default is going to notice negative things 3 to 1, which is why this happens, which is why your brain lies to you all day long. It'll tell you there are more negative things in your business to pay attention to focus on than positive, because that's your natural wiring. And I think, again, it's so helpful to know this so you can know, oh, my brain is a liar. It just wants to notice negative and just wants to ignore all the positive because this is a survival mechanism. If I pay attention to negative things, it thinks it can keep me safe and alive. It still thinks I could get eaten by a tiger. There are no tigers here. My job as a business owner, my job as a CEO, is to actively seek out and look what's working here, what's going well, who's already in front of me, what are the positives here, so I can pay attention to that more than the negative that most likely is the shit you don't have to focus on. So I can double down on what's working well. Something I know to be true in my business, you all know, I've been fully booked for years. We're making consistent 25, 35K cash months over here. Like, things are going well. And if you ask me to sit down tomorrow and to do an audit on my business and to find the people who aren't interested, the people who are unsubscribing, the people who don't like my content, the people who don't agree with me, what's not working, the funnel we created 3 years ago that has problems. If you asked me to sit down and do that, I could easily tomorrow sit down and create a massive laundry list of everything we're talking about here, the shit that's not working, the people who aren't interested in, and I could convince myself this is all stuff I need to focus on and fix in my business. And I also guarantee you, if I did that, not only would I feel like shit, And not only would I have a hard time showing up and creating new content and serving my clients, you know what I mean, and scaling my business, but if I then actively focused on fixing all of that, I would waste tons of my own time. And my time is valuable, right? My time, your time is valuable. Our time, we think about what that means in terms of dollars in your business as a business owner. It would cost my team time, which costs my business a lot of money. It would literally decrease my return on investment in terms of time and cost my business so much money. And I guarantee you, not only would it cost us a lot in terms of time and energy, mental bandwidth, feeling like crap, and I very strongly believe the better you feel about your work, about your offer, about what you're doing, the more money you make. So like, even if we took that part out of it, we just looked at like time spent focused on all of that and fixing all the things, I also guarantee you, I've seen this enough before, like in other businesses or clients come to me, if we then fixed all of those things, I guarantee that would not help my business grow, and that would not give exponential results on the back end. It would, I think, do more harm than good. But I can just like promise you that. So I think it's just really interesting to know. And I think it's so helpful, Marie, that you pointed that out, because I think it's just helpful to see that is just the case. You're always going to notice the negative more than positive, unless you're consciously doing the work to pay attention to the positive. But also to know, if you look at, we've talked about this in a different live stream before, but if you look at anything closely enough, you can find a problem. And there is no business out there that isn't riddled with holes. But that doesn't mean just because there's a hole, you need to fill it. And the businesses that are growing the fastest, that are scaling the fastest, that are getting the biggest results, know what holes to pay attention to and what holes to ignore. This is actually a good example. My fiance works for a startup here in New York City that is growing rapidly. And they have, I'm going to butcher the number. I think he's probably listening to something in the room, so otherwise I'd yell and ask him. It's millions, it's billions, it's a lot of money they just got in terms of investment to throw into growing the business. And it's really fascinating to see a business with that many resources and that large a team that's growing and scaling as quickly as they are, to notice how many ways they could stall their scalability and their growth if they stopped to focus on the people who are unsubscribing, the people who don't like what their offer is, the people who are saying this is a stupid business idea, the people who don't want to sign up for the app or for the service. And instead, what they're doing is they're looking at what are the things that are working, how can we get in front of those people, how can we double down there, how can we take all of these resources and blow this up, and know that we're also going to have a lot of stuff along the way that doesn't work. And anything that doesn't work, that isn't clicking with people, that isn't resonating with people, we don't then go and fix that. We just find the stuff that is clicking with people and double down there. So it's just really interesting to see it on such a large scale and to be able to reflect that to you, because I see it on that side from, behind the scenes on a large scale. I also see behind the scenes all day long, what I've been doing for years now, right? I'm just seeing the behind the scenes of businesses and what's working. And when I look at the clients who are, my clients are all incredible, but when I look at what is that common ingredient, what is helping people to grow and to scale, it's what we're talking about here. They understand, or they're willing to come to a coaching call and say, hey, my brain wants me to focus on this thing. Is this something I need to focus on? So they can shift their focus. And they're really good at doing the work to identify, hey, this isn't something to focus on. This might be broken. This might be someone who doesn't like what I have. This might be someone who doesn't agree with my opinion, but I don't need to listen to that. I need to focus on this lane over here and the people who are interested. How do I keep running down this road? To see if I have any, here's my note for you all. This is how my brain works. I think I've shared this with you all before. Whenever I do a live, I like to just give myself a couple bullets so I can remember what to share with you. And so I just have a few bullets for this. My bullet is, don't fix shit for people who don't want it. So these are my words of wisdom and how articulate I am when I write notes. But that's really, if we were going to summarize this here in terms of focus, what I really want to invite you to stop focusing on is fixing shit for people who don't want it. Don't fix shit for people who don't want it. Instead, I would invite you to think about, who are the people who want what you have? How can you refine and deepen into what's already working, what they already like for those people? And that is going to make everyone's It's gonna make you feel better. It's gonna make your team feel better. It's gonna help you scale, make more money. It's gonna help you have more brain space. It's gonna help you have less anxiety in your business. It's gonna help you feel, actually enjoy your life. But I think what you'll also notice is not only will you get better results, but then the people in front of you that you're serving, I know most of you here are service providers in some way, the more you're deepening the flavor the people in front of you want, instead of trying to figure out the flavor or how to mess with your flavor for the people who don't want it, the better results they're going to get, because you're going to keep deepening your recipe. You're going to keep deepening that flavor. It's just going to get better and better and better. I think about that with one-on-one coaching, with what I do. The reason my clients are amazing unicorns anyway, and I'm great at what I do, but I also think some of the reason my clients get the results they do, and I have clients who get such epic results, is I keep deepening the flavor of this work. I keep doing the same thing. I've just been doing the same thing over and over and over again. And so I can just spot things for clients. I can support clients. We can just cut that timeline down so much faster because of exactly what we're talking about. If I was like, oh, but someone told me they really wanted a group program, or this person said they don't like one-on-one coaching, so I should do something else. If I was constantly trying to there's a group of 11,000 people here. If I was trying to figure out what would make all 11,000 people in this group happy and what they would all buy from me, I guarantee not only would I be frazzled and not have the business I do, but I'm also sure I wouldn't be able to deepen my flavor with my work, and my clients wouldn't be able to get the results they do, because I'd just be all over the place, and I'd have 17 pots on the stove that were kind of meh. This is one of my favorite examples that I've used in different ways, but for those of you, I live in New York City. Anyone been to visit New York City, and those corner delis? COVID has changed everything, so not as much is open, but if you go into the city, they have these corner delis where you can literally get pizza or a taco or sushi or shrimp or a acai bowl or a smoothie. It's kind of every cuisine you could ever want is under there. They have figured out, they're oh, someone wants this, we can put it all under one roof. And I don't know about you, but when you come to New York City, my guess is you only go to eat there if it's 4 a.m. or 6 a.m. and you are just you need some food in your system so you don't pass out. No one's going into the city thinking that is the place I want to eat and that is really good food, because it's really hard to make all of those cuisines really well. And it's really hard if you're trying to fix all those different things. And basically everything there tastes pretty much the same and full of MSG and is pretty crap. That's kind of what we want to avoid in your business. And so I think it's just helpful to think about that, where it's but the more you focus on what's already working, what am the people in front of me already like and want from me, how can I go into that more? How can I deepen that flavor? Again, then you're that restaurant that has the really small menu that it just executes so well that people want to wait months to get a table at, that if you're going to visit New York City in 6 months, you're making a reservation now for, and they're going to just give you the best experience. Even though your friend might be why the fuck would you eat there? I hate that place. I don't eat that kind of food. You're no, I like that kind of food. And they're so good at that. And they only focus on a few menu items. And I know they just get better and better at making that dish. And I'm going to have an excellent experience. That's what I want to invite you to think about when you're focusing on in your business. Hey, Mary, nice to have you. For some reason, to show me you were here. Mary says, I love the concept of brain space. Brain space. Okay, this is what we will close on. If anyone has a question, though, I can totally hang before I go to dinner for any questions, but this will be, if not, the thought I'll close on in terms of brain space. Your brain space, I always talk about how managing your mind and your brain is your most valuable asset in your business. That is where the money in your business comes from. And investing in your brain, investing in your mindset, managing your mind. That's where your creativity comes from. That's where your offers come from. That's where your service comes from. That's where your ideas come from. If you believe in manifesting, your brain is your most valuable tool in your business. It's your most valuable employee. It's also the CEO. And you're creating time for brain space is, if we think about this is the most valuable asset in your business, most of us are just crowding our brain. We are overworking our most valuable employee. We are giving our most valuable employee so much shit to do. And I don't know, I have team members. The last thing, I'm always checking in. The last thing I want to do is burn out my team and give them too many tasks at one time, because I know then they're going to fry out and they're not going to be able to support me or support the business. They're not going to be able to do great work. And yet, most valuable employee in our business, it's so tempting for us to just overload that employee with so much fucking work and ideas and thoughts. And what we're talking about here, all of those lies our brain wants to tell us, and all the things your brain wants to tell you, hey, focus on this fire, focus on this fire, focus on this emergency, focus on all this negative shit and go fix it. And all you're doing is preventing your most valuable employee from growing your business and from doing the work it's meant to do. And so I think brain space and creating brain space and constantly looking at cultivating brain space, and some people call it white space, I like that term as well, is one of the most important things as a business owner. I've done a live stream on this before, so some of you probably heard me talk about this. I literally schedule time for this in my calendar. I also think it's one of the most challenging things because everything will tell you, talking about like what to focus on, your brain's gonna lie to you and tell you, go focus on all the negative things and the people who don't like you and the people who don't agree with your work. Go focus on all of this other shit. But as a business owner too, your brain's gonna say, but there's all this stuff you could be doing. You should go be doing that. You should go execute. You should go worry about all those things. And I think the more you can think, nope, the more I create space in my brain, the more I can create space, the more money I can make. I think you'll see the more that is true. And what we're talking about here, in terms of what I want to invite you to stop focusing on, helps create more of that brain space. The more you stop focusing on the negative in your business, the stuff that is broken, that doesn't really need fixing, the people who don't agree with you, the people who don't like your work, the negative comment from someone, the unsubscribes, the more you create brain space and white space to be able to focus on what does matter. Okay, seeing these last comments. Let's see. Stephanie says, Corner Deli. I have walked into one of those and walked back out thinking, you can't possibly make all of this good. LOL. It's so true. It's so true. I mean, look, if you're in the city and like in a pinch you need something, they're like, it's not gonna kill you, but there's nothing good there. And that's not ever, like, none of us are going out thinking that's the place I want to eat at. It's literally what you do when you can't get a reservation and everywhere else is booked. You're like, I just need to grab something to eat. It's so true. And so I think just a helpful reminder for your brain. Marie says, I am a boutique business. Yep, I think many of us here in this group in particular are a boutique business. And I mean, honestly, if your business has a staff of, I don't know, what is it, like under 100, under 25, and if you're serving, I don't even know what the number would be to consider a boutique, you're considered a small business and boutique. And I think that's so kind of just what we were talking about, the example of my fiance with, really large business and a startup being a boutique business. I think there's lessons we can see and we can look at, like, hey, if a startup with millions or billions of dollars is thinking about things this way, of course that's good enough for us. But I think it's also really important as boutique businesses, as small business owners, to also see we have different benefits, different pros and cons, but there are different things for us to focus on. If you're a boutique business, you also literally don't have enough hands. You don't have enough employees in your business to focus on filling all of those holes we were talking about. And so you will actually shut your business down if you try to fill all of those holes. Where a big startup has, if you have hundreds of employees, there are more hands to fill those holes. And yet that big startup still isn't going to fill all those holes because they know those are just not the things to focus on for us. But yes, I'm a boutique business. I'm with you, Marie. Mary says, hey, thanks. I love that example. And hearts back to you. It's nice to see you. I can see your photo, so I feel like I can see you. So nice to have you on here. Y'all, let me know if you have any other questions before I let you go. I'm just seeing if there was, I will leave you with these thoughts just to put a bow on everything. Stop focusing on the shit that doesn't matter. No, stop focusing on the things that are broken that don't need fixing in your business. And stop focusing on the unsubscribes, the people who don't like what you have to say, who don't agree with your message, who aren't signing up. And instead, my invitation for you is to focus on the people in front of you. Focus on deepening the relationships, deepening the service, deepening your work for the people who are already in front of you, who like what you have to offer, who want to be there. That is always going to be the path to growing and scaling and to those quantum leaps in your business. And I will just repeat my really, really eloquent phrase that I wrote here for you. Don't fix shit for people who don't want it. Don't fix shit for people who don't want it. Don't change to be a version of yourself for some some guy or girl who doesn't want to date you, right? Be more of who you already are for the people who already want you. It so applies to friendships and dating as well. I love you all so much. Marie says thank you. If any of you are interested in having support around your focus and focusing on the stuff that matters in your business so you can make more money doing what you love, that is what I support my clients with all day long. Book a consultation. I think we're looking at July. I might have one spot that we can open up in June, but I think everything else is July, if we still have a July spot. Anyway, we're looking at the summer, July and August. So if that's something you're interested in, book a call with me. I would love to support you. Mary says, thanks, bye. Thank you all, and I'll be back next week. I've got another topic for you then. Lots of love. Bye.